What is happening, YouTube? How you guys doing today? It is Monday. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. Getting ready to go over sales, address comments, and stuff like that. So, just your average Joe hanging out in the garage. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We got lots of sales to cover, so I'm gonna try to get through this pretty quick. And I've got my daughter hanging out with me right here. What you got?
My Play-Doh set from when I was little.
Oh, you can go on the table and play.
Yeah.
Some of it might be dried out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go see what's not dried out. Throw away whatever's dried out, though.
LOL's in it.
Well, you got a million of them. But anyway, we got a bunch of sales to go over. We got a bunch of comments to go over. Remember, sales this time, I did do a video on Saturday because I didn't source. So sales are from Saturday, Sunday through right now. So about 2-ish days or so. So the sales that I have is for about 2 days instead of the 3 days like it normally is, because normally my last video is on a Friday. But anyway, so again, my name is Joe. Been reselling full time for 8-ish years, and been on eBay buying and selling since 2000. Long time. So definitely have a lot to share, a lot to offer, and also willing to learn a thing or two as well. Appreciate you hanging out along my journey. Our viewership has been going up quite a bit since I got back from vacation. My last video is doing pretty well, I see, which is amazing. A lot of times my videos, most of my videos only get like 100 or so views, but the last one's it's creeping up to 1,000, which is crazy. We're getting a lot of new subscribers, so appreciate y'all subscribing. Hopefully, you guys continue enjoying the content. This is all raw and unedited. It's just me, just your average Joe. Let me make sure my mic's on. Yes. All right. Just your average Joe hanging out in the garage, man. I'll be doing this either way, so I might as well share my journey, talk about stuff, because my wife don't want to hear about all the stuff that's happening on eBay and all the stuff that's going on, and or she's not trying to do eBay. So if I'm trying to help teach and help share my knowledge, you know what I mean. So my kids don't care. So, but hopefully you guys do, especially if you're thinking about doing this, or thinking about starting a little eBay business or a big eBay business, for that matter. Or if you're already doing eBay and you're just not, struggling a little bit, maybe I can help a little bit. So, but either way, appreciate you guys watching. Again, appreciate y'all subscribing. We're on our way to 500, which is amazing, and then hopefully the next goal in the next several months will be 1,000, and then we'll just keep going. I mean, I don't plan on going anywhere, especially because I've made this easy for myself. I used to edit video and do all that kind of stuff with the YouTube, and it became cumbersome sitting behind a computer for at least an hour or two, maybe three, editing video, putting snippeting things together, and trying to learn how to do the whole editing part of it. And I'm just not very good at it, and I got a lot of other things I need to be doing with my time. So sitting around editing for hours on end was just not doing it for me. I know you can edit from your phone, and there's other ways to do things, but at the end of the day, that just didn't work for me. So I know how I operate, especially at this stage with all the things I have going on. If I'm going to do it, I got to try to make it as easy and streamlined as possible. And for me, doing this raw and edited, being in the garage, showing off my processing table when I bring stuff in, that's easy for me. I can hit record, I can hit stop, and then I can post, and it's there, it's out there for you guys to enjoy. So, and sometimes I may say some things out the side of my face that I probably maybe shouldn't have said, or but it's all raw and unedited, so you get the real me every time. So anyway, enough of that, enough rambling, because if you've been with me before, I ramble sometimes. But let's go over comments, because I think we have like 11 or 12 comments to cover. So we'll try to get through these, and then we'll get through, I think I got 21 sales. So doing pretty good. eBay's back. I'm not going to say that. It's the promotion, it's the promoted listings, and the sales discount is what's got me back rolling. I know, like Kurt, and some of y'all mentioned, as far as I think Kurt was saying, like he doesn't have to do it. A couple other guys said you don't have to do it. You price competitively. I always price high. So when I do a 10 or 15% discount, that's normally what then brings my prices down to in line. But I like to try to get a premium out of stuff, because I take a lot of time. I do a lot of cleaning. I do a lot of back end to make sure my stuff is good. So I try to command a premium for my stuff. Does it always work that way? No, but it's nice when it does, when you post something and it gets gobbled up right away for premium or full price, and a lot of my stuff does sell that way. But then when I hit the slowdown, I have to consider the fact that I've already I've already started off all my stuff on the high side of the comps. So when I bring it down 10, 15, even 20%, now I'm coming in line or coming a little below what most people have their stuff at. So now I'm starting to see a lot of popping, a lot of going, a lot of watchers, a lot of offers. So, and the marketing promo helps on top of that. I'm willing to take 5% or have eBay take 5% to get more eyeballs and more traffic on my stuff because it yields more cash flow, more results. And that's just me. That's just how I operate. There is no right or wrong way in any of this. It's your model. That's the beauty about eBay and doing reselling. It's your thing. It's your baby. It's how you do it, and it's your process on how you do. It's how much you do and how much work you put in. It's how what it's all you got to work within the parameters of eBay, but outside of that, it's how you decide you want to do stuff. So there's no right or wrong. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started for the day. Let's get started for the day. First couple comments come from Winston Wolf. Winston, I appreciate you hanging out once again. Thank you for commenting. Nice shirt. Love the Goonies. And yeah, I love the Goonies, man. I think this is a good one too. Choose your weapon. But I love the Goonies. One of my all-time favorites. Absolutely. Let me go ahead and give you a reply. So I replied to all the comments, just that I replied on the newest video. Replied on newest video. All right. And what I do there is I'm just going to copy and paste, and then we'll just make it easy. All right. And then Winston also follows up and says, that's pretty shitty that the guy got his money back and won't revise the feedback. So let me touch on that. So for those that didn't watch the last video, I had a customer leave me negative feedback because the item was damaged in shipping. It was damaged in shipping. It was not damaged before I shipped it. Damaged in shipping. He just simply left me negative feedback, said damaged item. So I reached out to him proactively. I'm a good seller. Try to give a good experience, try to understand what happened so I can help the guy out. Even though he left me negative feedback, I'm not going to be mad about it. I mean, I am mad about it, but I'm going to not let him know. But I did let him know it was proper etiquette to reach out first before they go leave negative feedback. I gave him my 2 cents. He was a bit of a jerk to me, but at the end of the day, I had him send me a picture, show me that it was damaged, apologize for the trouble, sent him a refund. I then also did a refund revise. Not a refund. I sent him a feedback revisement or revise. I guess my wife's heading out for a minute or going out somewhere. Oh, I think she's taking my daughter to the doctor. That's right. Y'all heading to the doctor?
Can I use the credit card to pay for the doctor?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So, they left me. I reached out to him. I did the feedback revision. He never replied. I sent him a couple messages. He ended up finally replying and saying, hey, no hard feelings, and agreed to do the feedback revision, but he said he couldn't find it. So I'm like, okay. Well, then I sent him like 3 other messages, let him know, hey, it should be in your eBay messages. If you could do it, great, blah, blah, blah. That'd be amazing. He never replied back. Has yet to reply back. That was Saturday. So we'll see you later.
Bye.
So at that point, this morning I called eBay and I said, hey, because at that point I've captured his message that says in eBay that says he'll do it, but he can't find the message. So I called eBay this morning. I let him know, hey, the guy hasn't replied to my message now in over a day and a half or so, but you can see that he was, his intention was to do the feedback revision, but he says he can't find it. So can you take care of that for me? So they're gonna submit it to the back office team, blah blah blah, and they're supposedly going to take care of it. So that's just just if you have a buyer that's done that and you make it right, if you can at least get them to say, yeah, I'll do the revision, you know what I mean, or yeah, I'll reverse the feedback or whatever, that's usually enough for eBay to then step in and have it removed off of your feedback. So I'm just waiting for that to happen. In fact, I bet it hasn't been. I won't mess with it. We'll touch on that tomorrow. I'll see if they've taken it off. But yeah. So anyway, that's that. So if you're a buyer on here watching and you don't really sell on eBay, but you just enjoy watching these kind of videos and things like that regarding eBay and whatnot, please always give the seller the benefit of the doubt and even if you don't give them benefit of the doubt, at least reach out to the seller and say, hey, XYZ happened. Give them an opportunity to fix it before you go leaving feedback. I hate when customers just go quick straight to leaving feedback, because that's permanent typically. You know, it's hard to get that stuff removed off of your account. eBay, it's hit and miss, man. So as far as them removing it. So anyway, just want to share that with y'all. Kurt says, yo, Average Joe, damn, you got some work to do on your processing station. Man, I got a lot of work to do. I posted a bunch of stuff this weekend, but yeah, there's a lot of systems on there I got to get through. That's the plan this week, because I didn't source Saturday. So the plan this week is to try to get through that table as much as I can. But great sales day, 700. Maybe I should promote my sales. Haha, you the man. Well, Kurt, I had a nice weekend as well. We'll cover that in a few. But like I said, try it. Do 5% and just see what happens. I mean, what's 5%? You know what I mean? You get more eyeballs on your stuff, and you may sell more and be like, whoa, that was a nice pop. So, or it might not yield anything extra. Who knows? But you know, no knock it till you try it. Leroy, I believe this is the first time Leroy has commented. Let's see. Leroy said, appreciate you watching. I'm not sure if you've subscribed, Leroy, but if you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe. Leroy says, hello, Average Joe. I've been meaning to reach out to you about my previous comment I made. Oh, that's right. You did leave a previous comment. My bad. If you recall, I made a comment on your hate for clothes. I feel and need to clarify. I was only poking fun. You're good, man. All good. I just thought it was kind of comical that you had to make it clear that your hate for clothing. That's all. I hate clothes. I hate clothes, but I buy them and I sell them. But I hate clothes. I apologize if I confused you or your listeners. I appreciate all that you do for the eBay community. Lots of good info. Keep it up. I appreciate you. Sorry, typo. Keep it up. You're good, man. You're good. I appreciate that, Leroy. Thank you. Sorry I didn't remember that you've commented before. My bad. But Leroy, I appreciate you commenting. Appreciate you watching. Yeah, my hate for clothes. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, because I got all these racks of clothes, and I got some good stuff, and a lot of them sit, and then they do sell, and then it's seasonal, and then you get returns because it doesn't fit, and it's just like, you know, I don't know, you know, or it's, you got to be very, very specific with clothes. I think clothes probably has the highest return rate out of any items, and it's because if you have any little blemish that you failed to see, and clothes, a lot of times it's so easy to overlook things on clothes. And so obviously I'm a little bit more experienced. I know kind of just through my growing pains, my own growing pains. I call them growing pains when you get things returned for stuff that you messed up on. You know, those are called growing pains. That's how you learn and you get better. So I've been through enough growing pains to kind of identify what I need to look for and what needs to be checked and all the boxes kind of thing to make sure that I can minimize my returns on clothes. But I even still from time to time have a return that I'm like, get out of here, man. You know, you can't control the don't fit ones. A lot of customers will ask, you know, for measurements, and I hate that too. You know, I know people that sell clothes do all the measurements with the measurement stick and all that kind of stuff because that's their niche and they're very accurate. I base it off what it says on the label, and then I get people all the time like, can you send me measurements? Can you send me measurements? Can you send me measurements? I'm like, ugh. Beat myself in the head sometimes, like, sure, I'll send you some measurements, no problem. And then 90% of the time they don't buy it. So I've actually gotten to a point where I'll ignore a lot of those because I've gotten so many messages on, can I get the measurements? And then you give them measurements, and probably 95% of the time they don't buy it. It's like, you know, so I'm wasting my time giving you measurements, and then you don't even buy the dang thing. So I've done that enough in my day to just at this point, I just kind of ignore those a lot of times. Unless they send me more than one message, that means they really want the item. Then I'll typically go ahead and send them measurements. And I've had that happen. I'll get, you know, every now and again, I'll get somebody follow up and send me a second message. Hey, I don't know if you saw my first message. Can you send me measurements? That's usually when I'll get off my high horse and I'll go ahead and give them measurements, because that to me means they want that item. You know what I mean? They're looking at your specific guy. They want that item. They're, you know, so they're willing to send you an additional message. I'll take that effort at that time and go ahead and send you measurements. Now my success rate still is only probably like not 5% out of the time, but I'll at least help you there if you send me a follow-up message. And again, there's no right or wrong there. I know some people are probably like, that's ashholeless of you. You should send them measurements when they ask you the first time. Well, I've just, that's just because of my experience and what I've experienced in my past. That's how I operate now. So that's just how it is. But anyway, yeah, I hate clothes, man. I absolutely hate clothes. So next comment, we got Justin says, thanks for sharing. Customers definitely have a variety of personalities, mostly good. And you're not wrong, Justin. Most customers are good. Most customers aren't scammers like we've talked about before. Most customers are understanding. I got one guy right now actually where he bought a game from me and it's been sitting around with the post office since June 25th. It's been in La La Land floating around, and I messaged him back, and so he hasn't left me feedback or anything. He just now reached out to me. It was yesterday, the 11th. So he's what, a month, June, July, August, almost like a month and a half. And he reached out and said, hey, I'm not sure if it's showing any updates on your side, but I'm showing that there's no update since like June 25th. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry. However, I have had this recently. I've been having more of this happen where the items are taking a lot longer to deliver. Let me rephrase that. Not that all items. A few of my items are taking longer to get to where they need to go. And I've also purchased stuff where the things have gone missing. And it seems like that's happening a little bit more now than it has happened in the past. So I'm not sure what's causing that, but because of that, and again, that's my experience. You all may or may not be experiencing that either, or may or may not be experiencing that, but I have. So based on my experience, I went ahead and I said, you know what? I've had this happen with a couple of my items. I've had this happen with items that I've purchased personally that I think I mentioned it with just one of my chargers just happened to show up a month and a half after the fact, and then that Cricut showed up a month and a half after the fact to my buyer. So I just asked the guy, I said, hey, I've seen this happening a little bit more frequently lately. Do you mind giving it maybe another week or so, and we'll see what happens. If it doesn't deliver and there's no updates on tracking, then I'll go ahead and just refund you the item. And he replied back and said, yeah, that's no problem, man. Thank you. And so, obviously it's not a great experience. I can't control the fact that the post office taken 90 years to get stuff where it needs to go. In those rare instances, it's still rare. It's not like it's happening every item. It's one out of like, I don't know, 200-300 items that may happen now. In fact, I can't even say the actual amount, but it's not happening a lot, but it is happening. I'm seeing it a little bit more now, off of these 3 different occasions now. So with that being said, it just, his patience. I'm saying all that to say, he's willing to be patient with me, and he's not just blasting my feedback and saying terrible seller, taking forever to deliver, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, he's being cool. So Justin, to your point, most customers are pretty good, man. You do have to deal with those Yahoos from time to time. You do have to deal with those scammers from time to time, but it's, no matter what, if you're selling, those are things you're going to come across all the time. I mean, hell, I worked at AT&T for over 11 years. It's just one of those things where you have all different types of customers. Absolutely. Most of them are pretty good. You do get those ones that are entitled, that are super snobby, that just, you're wrong no matter what. There's no, and so there's no, it's just, it's all your fault kind of thing. And they take no responsibility whatsoever, or care, or understand, or any of that. And again, or those scammers that try to scam you. Again, worked at AT&T. We had lots of people trying to scam us for phones and things like that, and get out of their bills and, get credits and all that kind of stuff because they're trying to scam us and stuff. But anyway, so no matter who you work for or what you do, if you're in a sales position and trying to sell stuff, you're going to deal with that kind of stuff no matter where you're at, no matter what you do, brick and mortar, big company, small company, eBay, small business, whatever it is, you're going to come across that kind of stuff. So you got to know how to roll with the punches. You got to know how to handle those situations with grace and professionalism, and provide good customer service, and do the best that you can, eat the ones you got to eat, and keep rolling, because ultimately that wheel will keep turning, and you're going to experience a lot of more positive experiences for the most part, unless you're doing something wrong that's causing that stuff. And that goes back to growing pains. If you're not identifying the issues that you have through some of those returns or through some of those negative experiences with customers, and you're not growing and changing and tweaking your process, then you're probably not going to ever see any difference. And you're probably always going to have that stuff happening. And you're probably always going to be disgruntled and pissed off because you're not self-identifying and growing and doing things that you can do to make a difference. A lot of it's that self-identify, man. And you know, we can be in a tunnel and think it's everybody else. Sometimes you got to step back and look at you and what you can do better. And processes that you're doing that could be changed that can make things better. You know, whether it be listing, you know, being more, you know, paying more attention to detail on your items, describing them with more detail, pointing out the blemishes, pointing out the flaws, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, pointing out the fact that this thing doesn't work on this item or that doesn't work on this item or whatever the case is, you know, those are all the small things, you know, providing good customer service on the back end when somebody gives you an issue, instead of being mad about it and pissed off and saying the hell with the customer, I'm not even responding, you know, and then they open a case and then you get a negative impact on your account, you know, just take care of it. You know, is it worth the 15, 20, 40 bucks, 50 bucks on one transaction to, you know, to essentially either ruin your reputation or, you know, put you in a place where you just don't want to do it anymore? I mean, come on. So anyway, self-reflection, self-identify, make those tweaks, make those changes. I'm not saying it's always you, obviously, but you know, those negative experiences should help you get better at what you do. Anyway, hard to guard. First time I think hard to guard has commented. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate you hanging out, watching. This is going to be a little bit longer video, guys, obviously, because it's Monday and we got lots of sales and lots of comments to cover, and I ramble, if you haven't noticed. But hopefully it's good rambling. So hard to guard says, Joe knows he hates clothes. Joe knows he hates clothes. Love the channel. Love your authentic energy. Never stop being you. Hey, hard to guard. I appreciate that. Yeah, I hate clothes, man. They're, you know, I'm going to have my wife make me a shirt that says, I hate Joe. Just your average Joe hates clothes. But they make money. And so I can't knock it, man. I can't knock it. But again, thank you for hanging out. Hard to guard. Hopefully you subscribed. And if you have any other questions or anything, I'm more than happy to touch on them. Graham's Pop Vintage. First time I think you have commented as well. So let's see. Let me reply to that. Just found the channel and subscribed. Love the shirt. Can't wait for the next video. P.S. Saw you wearing a Sioux Falls shirt in the earlier video. We are from South Dakota. Oh, that's awesome. So my sister-in-law and husband are in Sioux Falls. That's why we have the shirt. He's actually a recruiter for the Army, so that's their station there. So yeah, they're in Sioux Falls. That's why they sent us Sioux Falls shirts. I'm in North Carolina. But yeah, I rock the Sioux Falls every once in a while. I actually used to live in North Dakota. Well, when I was a kid, my dad was Air Force. So as a kid, he was stationed at Grand Forks, North Dakota. So kind of sort of know how it is over there. It's cold, lots of snow, but good time. Definitely. Lots of good outdoor stuff to do in that neck of the woods for sure. But again, Graham, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't, oh, you did say you subscribe. Thank you for subscribing, and hopefully I can, you know, help you if you're a reseller looking to, you know, hopefully I can help you along your journey, or if you just enjoy watching, which that's cool too. I appreciate the support. All right, let's keep going. Fart Sack Jack. Fart Sack Jack. I kind of like that. Fart Sack Jack. First time I think you've commented. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for hanging out. Fart Sack Jack says, stop worrying about returns. It's part of the gig, man. I think you're referring to Electron Man. I think is who you were referring to, because I know I said, yeah, you just part of the territory. But so I think that was partly replying to Electron Man. But anyway, stop worrying about returns. It's part of the gig. Make sure you test it all and it works. Pack it well, ship it. That's your job. Some guys use ultraviolet pens and put secret marks, and they say in the descriptions. That's actually not a terrible strategy if you're worried about returns on your items. That's probably not a bad strategy either. Some also say that they will not give partial refunds if you say it didn't work when you have to ship it back for any kind of refund. I wouldn't do stereos and shit like that. Too many. I don't know if it's worth it or how to hook it up. Nah. I do receivers. I think that's another thing that Electron Man was talking about, receivers and like CB radios and stuff. I have picked those up. I do look for receivers. A lot of times the older receivers are worth big money, like hundreds on some of those older receivers, if not more. Like many hundreds on some of them, especially the older ones. But anyway, so they're definitely worth looking at when you do come across them. Typically, you don't see them very often at yard sales, but like estate sales, you typically will come across those a lot of times at estate sales. But the problem with estate sales is they're gonna, if it's an $800 unit on eBay, they're gonna probably be asking $500-600 for it. So it's not quite, there's not quite enough margin there after fees and everything to pick it up. Where you make $100 maybe, you know, it's just a lot of money to put out for a little return. So that's not quite my cup of tea. Now, if it happens to be there on half off day and you can get it for like $400 or $300 and you can sell it for $700-800, yeah, that's a pretty good come up. You know, you make a few $100 there, you know, so that's not bad. But anyway, that's why I'm not a fan of estate sales. I mean, I'll go to them occasionally. I used to go to them a lot. If there's something, I always scour the estatesale.net pretty much every week to see what's happening in my area, to see if there's any estate sale that is worth going to. 95% of the time, I don't see much. And even when I do see something, it really has to be something that I'm really going after or really wanting in order for me to go, because I already know it's probably a high demand item and they're probably going to be asking a premium for it, because that's how estate sales are. So even then, I'm hit and miss whether I'm even going to go. But anyway, Fart Sack Jack, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Did I reply to your thing? I don't think I did. Let's reply. I may have replied twice. I'm sorry. But again, Fat Sack Jack, hopefully you're subscribed and watching. Appreciate you hanging out and leaving a comment. Got several more comments to go through, guys. This is going to be a longer video, that's for sure. Electron Man says, welcome back, Electron Man. He says, thanks for your input. You're correct. The margins are really good. They are really good on eBay. So that's, you know, you can take a loss here or there on that. And especially I actually subscribed to your channel, I believe. I checked you out. The fact that you fix your own stuff, if a buyer does claim that it's not working, you go ahead and, you know, eat the $20 to return it, you tinker with it, get it working again, and then just resell it for the same amount. You know what I mean? And you're still going to make money at the end of the day, even with the return on it, having to eat the return. So, but anyway, so you have an advantage there, being able to actually fix that stuff. The margins are really good. I usually have less than $10 invested in most of these since I pick them up at garage sales. Absolutely. That's see, and then you turn that 100 to like 200, 150, 100, 300, you know, so yeah, don't let them returns get to you, man. Like or hinder you from doing your thing, man. It sounds like you could be doing pretty good on eBay, especially because you actually can fix the stuff. Like I could bring it home and hope that it works. They say it works. For $5, you take a shot. $10, you take a shot. It come home, you try it out. It doesn't work. It goes in the trash, or sell it for parts. You got to see if it can be sold for parts first, because that's usually what I will do. Is it sellable for parts and repair? Then I'll sell it for parts and repair. And even then, you can make a pretty penny. But then, obviously, if it's not worth much even for parts or repair, then it just goes in the trash for me. In your case, you can fix them. So, but anyway, I also do YouTube videos. That's what made me actually go, because I saw your comments, so I was subscribed. I also do YouTube videos on repairing electronics. So I also get the bonus of the content on these items. See the double dip in there, man. I like it. You definitely need to be doing eBay, man. The radios I mentioned are ham or CB radios, which are sensitive electronics that require some knowledge to hook up and use. True, but I would still say most customers that are buying those things kind of know what they're doing with them. So again, I wouldn't stress or let that be your barrier as to why you're not jumping in. Don't let that be your barrier, because I would say your return rate on those things being damaged or the customer not knowing how to hook them up is going to be super low, like less than 2% kind of thing. So it's worth it to do it, I would say. Thanks again for your thoughts on reselling. You're absolutely right. What I can get on eBay compared to other platforms is significantly higher. Absolutely. Yeah, man. That kind of stuff, absolutely. Especially the vintage, older stuff. Yes, absolutely. All right. Rick Lewis says, first time, Rick, you've commented, I believe. Appreciate you commenting. Appreciate you. Hopefully you've subscribed. I think you did say you subscribed. Yes. So thank you once again for hanging out and commenting. He says, yo, Joe, great job with the info. YouTube scrubbed you to my list of interest. Well, I'm glad. Hopefully you subscribed. Thanks, YouTube. Bye, Joe. New subscriber here, and oh well, you did subscribe. Thank you. And I will binge watch you to help you get to 1,000 subs and more watch hours. Well, thank you. The watch hours, I'd say my subs and watch hours is pretty much going at the same rate, which is nice. So we're growing at a okay, pretty go steady rate. We'll say it that way. We're growing at a steady rate, especially when folks like you that like to watch the older stuff too. So I appreciate that. That does help the watch hours, that's for sure. Keep up the good work. We are similar as I've been selling on eBay since '99. Nice. I've been selling since 2000. My yearbook days in college, I used to sell them back on eBay, as well as buying storage units. We also buy storage units for my wife's thrift store occasionally. We really depend on donations. Well, not depend. We get so many donations that kind of keeps us rolling there. But we do occasionally, maybe once every few months, we'll get a storage unit or two. So I do. I used to do storage units all the time when I owned and operated. Well, I still own it, but when I operated a thrift store full time, we did storage units all the time. Now we're established and we're getting a lot of donations. So my wife now operates it, and so we just don't have to get too many storage units. But anyway, I'm rambling. I just learned where I just need to learn where to start to do that. I can start my YouTube channel as well. Maybe you can be a mentor and we can play YouTube, eBay, and storage units together. Another great job, Joe. Well, thank you, sir. I would say for me, and I mentioned it earlier, the YouTube thing I started doing was like going out in the field with my GoPro at yard sales, estate sales, storage units, and then I'd have to come home and edit all that footage, and it would take me hours. My two biggest constraints were I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to editing, so I kind of was learning on the fly, and that takes you way more time when you're trying to learn how to do that kind of stuff. So it just would take me hours to do, if I need to do a certain function or wanted to do something cool in the video, I have to learn and figure out how to do it. So it just took a long time. So if you know how to edit, then you're a step ahead. The second issue for me was my computer at the time, which is this computer. I have a new computer that I built since that's upstairs in my bonus room where I own and operate my other Facebook business where I do sports memorabilia. For those that don't know, that's what my other business. But so I built a computer. It's legit. It can handle everything and anything. But I just haven't dove back into editing. But the issue was with this computer is it just couldn't handle the editing stuff. It would take forever to process snippets, cuts, edits, additions, move stuff around. It would just bog down, and then probably 20% of the time the program would kill and I'd have to restart. And it's just so anyway. I just got tired of editing. So that part was not for me. I identified pretty quick that I can't take hours in doing this kind of stuff and editing. So it did not work for me. This platform, this process, way easier for me. So I would say find what's easy for you. If you are good at editing and that is something you grew up doing or was a kid did or do now or know how to do, then you're a step ahead. Your computer can handle it. You got a really good computer, then by all means, go out in the field, get a GoPro, edit and cut the footage, make it cool, and then, put it out there. I would say that's probably going to yield more results than doing this. But for me, this works. So I just hit record. I'm all raw and unedited, and then I hit stop. And then at some point throughout the day, I'll sit down, I'll type up the title, and then post it and done. And that just works for me. Makes it easy, makes it convenient, makes it to where I can be consistent with posting stuff and content. And that's what that's what YouTube wants, is a consistent flow, and it shows through the numbers and the subscribers and the analytics through YouTube that as long as I'm consistent, that chart just goes up. The minute I go on vacation, for example, I went on vacation for 12 days, everything went boop down to the tank. Everything, all my watch hour, everything went down. So subscribers, watch hours, all of it just went in the shithole. So again, that's the only real advice I can give there, is really just start it, do it, and whatever is easier for you. And those are my nuggets that I'm going to drop as far as YouTube goes. Jay Edits. So Jay Edits, first time I think you've commented as well. Jay Edits, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for commenting. Yep, I'm gonna have to speed it up here. I only got 20% battery left, or 10, one or the other. All right, Jay Edit says, Joe, what sales? I'm sorry. Sometimes when you're shipping to places like Guam, it travels by boat, which is why it is stuck in transit for so long. I'm gonna have to say you're not wrong, but it shouldn't be stuck for a month and a half. So that's, you're not wrong. There are, obviously if it's going by boat, if it's going to places like Guam or the Meridian Islands, I think is where that one went, which is near Guam. I think that's where it went. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, it was a islands near Guam is where it went. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit longer to get there, just like if you ship something to Hawaii, but it shouldn't take a month and a half. So there was certainly something wrong there in that whole process. And the fact that the last scan on that one was like June, I forget, 16th or something, that was, again, it just, there was no scans after that anywhere. It was, the last scan was here in Fayetteville and it was done after that. It went la la land. So again, you're not wrong, but not to that degree. So that's outlandish for that to happen. Anyway, then he also says, J Edit says, Joe, what were sales like in September 11th, 2001? I don't know. I wasn't selling full time. I was in college, so I couldn't say. I have no idea. I was a kid. I was more worried about my girlfriend and sports and playing video games, and class was kind of the fourth thing down the list, going to class. I don't know. I mean, I remember September 11th, where I was at and what I was doing. I can tell you that I was laying in bed, woke up to my mom and my girlfriend at the time calling me, telling me, you got to watch the news. Plane just hit the tower. And then me and my roommate turned the news on. Next thing you know, the second plane hits the tower. Anyway, I think that's what you're referring to, but I don't know. I have no idea how sales were back then. So I don't know. All right, next comment, G Nestor. Again, first time I think you've commented. G Nestor, thank you for commenting. Thank you for hanging out. Let's see what G's got to say. You're 100% right on customer service calls. I never wanted to say this, but it's true. Every time I get an American on the phone, it's different than when I get some folks from the U.S. or outside the U.S. 100%. It was like that when I worked at AT&T as well. When I worked at AT&T, again, I was a call center manager. I was a rep. I was took escalated call. Well, it was all so I was a rep. Then I went to like a specialty team. Then I started taking manager escalation calls. Then I became a team manager. So just kind of progressed my career through the ranks through the call center. And I worked directly for AT&T. There's a lot of third-party AT&T call centers that take calls for AT&T that are actually a different company. But anyway, I actually worked direct for AT&T. So even in my experience working for the company on the back end, we are able to do a lot of things that a lot of the foreigners just won't do because they're held to a different standard. They have metrics that they got to meet for AT&T, and they're not going to deviate if they have like things that they're doing that they're not supposed to be doing that goes against their stuff. So they're going to stay black and white. They're going to stay within those parameters. Plus, there's the barrier of the language, how you our slang and how we do things is different than the way they do things and the way they understand and they interpret. It's just different. It's just different. So, sometimes you really got to break stuff down if it's a complicated situation for them to even understand what you're even talking about. So with all that being said, I've experienced that just being in the call center, in the trenches, dealing with those folks, even on the inside and in the house kind of stuff versus what we could do, actually being AT&T and working for the company. So we had a lot more, we could play in that gray area a lot more. So from my experience, eBay is kind of the same way. I'm not going to say every company's like that, but I can tell you that from my experience, that's how eBay is. So if you get an American, you're more likely to be able to get some things and especially if you have a complicated situation where you can have them help you versus the foreigners. They're just going to be black and white. There's no deviation. There's no middle ground. There's no gray. It's this or it's that, and that's it. So if you don't fall within this or that, you ain't getting it done. They're not even going to consider it. They're not even going to entertain it. So, but, and that's fine. I understand the game. I understand how it is. And ultimately, if that's the policy, that's what the company wants. But there's always in those rare instances, there's that gray area that wasn't considered or haven't had the situation or is just a situational is that situational situation? I don't know. It's a very unique situation. And so it doesn't fall within that black and white. You know what I mean? That's rare to happen, but it does happen. I was actually on a team through my career at AT&T that dealt with those gray area situations. So you know, you know, I know that they exist in every company because that's how they fix things and do address those gray areas and then make an actual policy on it. You know what I mean? So that's called progress and updating policies and procedures and methods and procedures and all that kind of stuff. Like if it was always the same way all the time, you know, and those things are happening, you know, those outside the wall things, and obviously those procedures can't be fixed or changed if nobody's bringing those things to the table to fix or change them. So there's got to be a median there that gets those situations from the front line, puts it together that there is then they find that there is a problem. We would solicit for these types of situations. Like if a certain situation arose and there was an actual issue, then we would try to solicit to see how big this issue is from our front line. And then we would put together a presentation to go to our AVP or our regional president, you know, who then is going directly to the, you know, who's on the main board table with the big dogs that actually, you know, decide to make changes or not. So, and then from there, if there is, they approve it, then it trickles down to methods and procedures. They make a new process. They update the company policies, and it goes to the front line as a new process or a new procedure or an updated or enhancement or whatever. That's how those things happen a lot of times. So, you know, a lot of times the upper ups have no idea until that front line, and then it trickles from there. So especially if it's something that's happening regularly. Anyway, I'm rambling, but we have a couple more comments, then we'll get to sales. I think we're, oh man, 41 minutes in. Maybe I'll do 2 separate videos again. Hey, Joe, I'm just, so Muhammad says, hey, Joe, I'm just starting my business from Pakistan of retro games and had been collecting retro games, Wii consoles, and many more. I just want to know about how to ship it, please guide. Pack with care. Pack like you wanted it packed if you were getting it. That's maybe a good way to put it. Make sure you use bubble wrap. I got a bunch of bubble wrap, you know, so make sure you got bubble wrap on hand. Make sure you got packing paper on hand. You always want to have a good amount of packing paper. I always make sure the box you're sending it in is a bit bigger than obviously what you're packing. So you've got room to put packing supplies in to give it a cushion. That's about it, man. I mean, that's, you know, just pack it like you would want to get it. You know, do you want to get it with just one little layer of whatever in a box with just one layer of bubble wrap? Chances are it could get, especially coming from Pakistan, if it goes international, it's going to go through a lot of different hands and a lot of different places, and it's going to get beat up along the way. So pack it with care, with lots of cushion. That's the best I can say. I can always do a packing video too. If that's something any of you guys would like to see my packing process. I know there's a couple YouTubers that do just packing videos as one of their things that they show. I can bring the camera behind me and show my packing process if you guys would like. So if there's several of you that would like to see that, just comment, yeah, I'd like to see your packing videos. Then I'll do a packing video. You know what I mean? But anyway, hopefully that helps a little bit. The other thing I would say is no shake. So when you shake the box, you should not hear anything moving around in the box. And a lot of people don't do the shake test. That's probably another big thing you want to make sure you do is the shake test. Shake the box when you got it packed and sealed. Shake it. If there's movement in there, open it back up and add more packing material, because your item should not be moving around in the box. All right, so that's that. Last comments. Rich in Maryland. Longer comment. Let's see here. Rich in Maryland. I used to work in tech support credit card processing call center. Something most people don't understand is that call centers calls are recorded. An entire department exists to listen to calls and identify things that you did incorrectly. You're not wrong. That is true. I would say they're all recorded, but they're not all listened to. I can say that. Well, I mean, maybe in credit card processing possibly, but I know at AT&T, as a manager, I had to listen to 6 calls per agent. And then we also had QA, which would listen to typically 2 calls per agent. So we would get 8 total calls for the course of a month, which, you know, some agents would take, you know, hundreds or even close to 1,000 calls. So it's a very small amount that are actually listened to. But at the end of the day, that's what I can say how it worked at AT&T. Obviously, all calls are recorded, but who actually goes back and listens to all those calls? And then 9 times out of 10, they're not listening to a 40-minute call. 9 times out of 10, they're looking for calls that are in that 10 to 20-minute range. 20 is probably pushing it too. Normally it's like 10 to 16-minute range is what they're looking to pull as far as the call that they're going to listen to, because you can't sit around listening to an hour-long phone call. I mean, that's just, unless there's a code of business violation, then obviously we have to listen to that call too, which sometimes that would come through the pipe and you got to listen to whatever call that may have a possible code violation. And then you would have to listen to that whole call, no matter how long it is, 2 hours, 3 hours, an hour, 45, whatever it is, you had to listen to that call in full. But that was pretty rare. Anyway, but again, I can only speak on AT&T. Entire department exists to listen to calls, identify things you did incorrectly. The term incorrect is purely subjective. We not only had our internal quality team listening to our calls, banks also use us for credit card processing when listening to calls too. When I first started working the call center, calls were randomly recorded. When I left, all calls were recorded. That's actually the way we did too. When my first several years with AT&T, not all calls, it was random recording. And then when I left, the last like 4 years, 5 years I was there, every call was recorded. But again, you only had to listen to 6 as a manager, QA listened to 2 per rep, and then obviously the code violations, as I just mentioned. If people working at the overseas eBay help desk are more by the book, I guarantee you 100% if their calls are recorded. People from eBay undoubtedly listen to the calls and try to nitpick things nitpick things they can complain about. If they find enough errors, they'll pay less for the help desk services. Overseas help desks are owned and operated by third-party companies. Kind of like what you're not wrong. Kind of like what I mentioned earlier. The external AT&T contractors, whether they're overseas or even here in the US, they're a third-party company and they're held to a different standard. So that's why I said I understand they're black and white. They don't really deviate or play in the gray area. They don't have the special teams, the case teams and things like that they can send those unique situations to. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to their managers for anything because their managers don't know anything. Their managers are strictly personnel managers. They listen to calls for quality assurance to make sure the agents are doing what they're supposed to do. At AT&T internal manager, I had the capability. Well, first you start off on the floor, so you learn all the stuff. A lot of those external managers don't start as a rep. Not to say that there's not a lot to do, but a lot of them get hired off the street as a manager because they have previous manager experience, because you're managing people, not so much the systems and things like that. So internally, we promote from within more often. So a lot of the reps that become managers know how to do the systems, know the ins and outs, and then you get manager access, which allows you to do a lot of different things. You get different things you can do. You have different levels of whatever. And then you also, if you're a good manager, you network with teams that aren't part of your center. So I had people in different places in the United States that I connected with and I made networks with, that I could reach out to somebody in tech. I could reach out to somebody in network quality. I could reach out to somebody in unlock device team, because, this customer's had 17 unlock requests and they were all denied, but it should be approved. I identified that it should be approved. My rep identified it should be approved. I have a direct contact to that manager because I made those networks internally, being with the company so long. And I wasn't just your average manager. I actually made those networks, and a lot of managers don't. So I could just reach out, hey, John, had this situation. It's been to your team several times, and they've kicked it back. This is what we found. Can you help us out? John is the manager of unlock device team. Hey, Joe, yeah, man, you're right. I'm not sure why it was kicked back 6, 7, 8 times, but I see what you're talking about. We'll take care of it for you. Boom, boom. They send me an email. It's taken care of. My agent calls the customer back, and we're all great in the world. So that, again, we had that ability. Outside third-party managers are just strictly people managers, and they're not doing all that extra kind of stuff. That was part of our process, and part of our job is to take care of that kind of stuff, and so some of us are better at it than others. But anyway, so you're not wrong there. Rich and Marilyn, thank you for hanging out and commenting, and hopefully you subscribed as well. But thank you for that comment. That puts us at like 50 minutes, and we haven't even got to sales yet. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take a break because I'm already starting to sweat. And then I'm going to come back and do the sales video and show off the sales. So that way I could break this up, because otherwise we'll be on here for like probably an hour and 30 minutes because I got 21 sales to go over. So that's all we got for y'all. Appreciate you guys hanging out. This is, again, if you want to watch the actual sales one, I'll post another follow-up video to this one today as well. and that'll have all the sales. So those that don't mind the longer videos, there'll be 2 longer ones today. It's Monday. That's the way it always is. So enjoy your day. Maybe we'll see you on the next one. And again, thank y'all for hanging out. Thank y'all for commenting. And any other comments, throw them out there. I enjoyed addressing comments because I think that's where a lot of stuff comes out, where I can kind of throw out what's on top, what's up here, and kind of get that out and help you guys along the way. Because I'm sure it helps other people. Your comment can help others as well, especially when I touch on it and can articulate, address it, and dive in on it. I think that actually helps other people. That's why I like doing it. So have a good, wonderful rest of your day. The next video will be sales. Later, everybody.